finally, I'm going to give you a tour around this very nearly off-grid cabin in the UK. Welcome to Off-Grid Path, and for those of you that are here because you've watched my other video on the entire cabin build and how we went about it, I think that film's about an hour and 20 minutes. In this video, I wanted to show you exactly how the cabin has turned out. It's still a labour of love and there's still lots to be done. I think there always will be lots to be done. But because in that video I didn't quite show the real finished kind of product, I thought I'd do a dedicated video to show you exactly how the cabin has turned out. Now, when I say the cabin is very nearly off-grid, this channel is called Off-Grid Path, and it's the path to becoming off-grid. So within this cabin, we're not quite off-grid yet, but would like to be in the near future when it's financially viable. But I'll explain that as I go along in the tour of the video. So first I'm going to show you a floor layout, but basically the layout of the cabin and the footprint of the cabin. The cabin is 44 foot long, that's about 13 meters or so, and it's about 10 foot wide, which is about 3 meters. So it's quite long, very long for what it is. I still don't quite know the definition of what a static home, static caravan. I know in America you might call them trailers. In the UK you've got caravans, static homes. This, I believe, is a static caravan, but I don't quite know, and you might correct me with that. It does have a chassis and it's got wheels. It will never be moved because it's in a really poor state, and I've added quite a few tons of material to it, so it essentially is just going to stay here, and I knew that from the start. So if this is the first time watching Off-Grid Path, you might want to check out some of my other videos where you'll actually see what this caravan static home was like before we renovated it. It was in a bit of a state of disrepair, and this video is very much going to be how it is at the moment. So you can see with the floor layout, it's actually quite simple. As you walk in the double doors, which you've actually moved from where they originally were, they actually were just behind me, behind this wood stove here. We moved those so you walk into the kitchen. The kitchen we wanted to make quite big. We didn't want a pokey small kitchen. We wanted a nice big work surface, and that will sort of work in the same room as the lounge as well. Obviously with any caravan you've got a limited amount of space. You have to think quite carefully about what you want, but sacrificing some space in the lounge to have a big kitchen was part of it. You can see also in the floor plan that there's a little corridor which we kept, quite a small bathroom shower, and then this originally was actually two bedroom static caravan. So we knocked all the walls down on the interior walls, but kind of kept the same layout from before. So we just turned one of the bedrooms essentially into a bed. We built a bed into it, and so the bedroom's actually quite large for what you do get in a caravan. So let's go on to the lounge and kitchen. I do want to apologise, we've actually been away, so a lot of the stuff is packed away. It's not how the cabin normally is, but I thought I'd just show you the general layout anyway. So the lounge and kitchen were crucial. That's where we're going to be spending most of our time. Obviously we're sleeping in the bedroom, but don't really use the bedroom from day to day. The lounge and kitchen were crucial. The kitchen especially, because we work from home quite a bit, and the worktop needed to be huge. We wanted a huge worktop because we wanted to have a nice space for prepping meals. That was essentially going to be our table. If we weren't sitting on the couch and eating, we'd be eating on the worktop. So it's like a breakfast bar, food prep area, and desk for working, so it needed to be quite big. So we're really happy with the kitchen in the end. You can see that we've got a stove which is a LPG, so that's gas, and we'll use LPG gas, the 47 kg gas bottles. I'm going to do another video on how much it costs us to live the way we're living, not completely off-grid but near enough. It's very interesting with how much LPG costs for cooking and things like that. We do have a washing machine. That's a standard washing machine, you know, electric run washing machine, but it is actually, doesn't need to be for that space, but it is actually it's not a deep washing machine. It's kind of half depth but still has the same size drum, so quite happy with that. Storage I'll go into in a little while, but there's plenty of storage in the kitchen. When I built the kitchen, and you can see the whole building process. I've done a video dedicated to the kitchen build. I'd never built a kitchen at all, so really didn't know what I was doing. The cabin is just not level in any place that you go in the cabin. The floors are off, the ceilings are off, the whole thing is flexing. We tried to level out the whole cabin, but it just didn't work. So one of my main aims of the kitchen was to get the work surfaces level, the whole thing level, and it is, which is some miracle. But lots of things were reused. We did, the sink was given to us, and we managed to get a few free things. Didn't really want cabinets, you know, above the kitchen worktop, so we stuck with scaffold boards and put those up, and I think that works really well. I like to be able to see what I've got. Some people like it and don't like it. Some people like having things just tucked away and out of sight. For me, I don't mind. I like the practicality of having pots and pans up there and you can just reach for them, don't need to open cupboards. Down below, wanted to have cupboard doors on the kitchen units. They haven't been done, and it's one of those situations where you kind of get used to not having cupboard doors, and I quite like it now, but at some point when I get round to it, it's not a priority, but when I get round to it, I probably will put cupboard doors. It will be nice to, you know, hide the dishwasher and things like that. I did, interestingly, on the cupboard situation in the kitchen, put this little thin section in because I knew I was going to want a clothes horse, and I didn't want, you know, clothes horses are quite hard to store away if you don't have a lot of storage. And we had the space in the kitchen worktops to be able to just incorporate a little sleeve kind of cupboard to put that in. Interestingly enough, don't use the clothes horse anymore because of the rafters in the ceiling. Basically, with the log burner on, we just hang clothes on the ceiling rafters, and they dry super quick. So the clothes horse is kind of redundant now, but we'll find a use for that spot. We've got a fridge, freezer in the kitchen. You can see we've kind of built like a pantry kind of shelves there, which are obviously empty at the moment. And directly below the pantry shelves is the bin. And that's just a very simple tub with a black bag in it. We could probably find a nicer bin there, but again, it works. I mean, the whole cabin's pretty rough and ready and quite rustic, so I don't mind. You know, a lot of these things that have kind of become permanent were just quick fixes at the time because we needed a place to put the bin. Chucked a couple of 6x1 planks in there just to cover it over, and it's been like that ever since. So it's good, but slightly annoying how you can get used to certain things and then they just become permanent when you think that you were going to, you know, put a nicer bin in somewhere or whatever it might be. But really happy with the worktops. They've worked fantastically well. We've got the normal things. I mean, with the LPG, we could have a kettle there, but in the winter especially, the kettle is on the log burner all the time. There's always water in there, so you've always got hot water. We obviously do have an electric kettle, and we can use the LPG, the gas hob, for boiling water as well. So that's it really with the kitchen. The whole thing works really well, and I think it's more the fact that we've got a big work surface. My pet hate is having small work surfaces where you have to really kind of fight for space. I just like to spread everything out, cook, and you know, it's a multi-use surface. So we do work for computer work, or if there's any, you know, if you wanted to paint or do whatever you wanted, there's enough space to do kind of most things on here really. The lounge, again, was going to be incorporated in the kitchen. It always wanted to have a living space. It didn't want to be separate if one person was cooking and the other person was in the lounge. It's just quite antisocial. It's nice to have that kind of open plan living, which I personally really like, and that just comes down to taste. Obviously, when you're converting a caravan or a static home, you're limited with space, so you've got to, you know, you don't really have the luxury of having separate rooms for different things anyway. But that didn't bother us. We just wanted, you know, one big space kind of separated by this table with a little walk-through. On the other side, which is my side of the worktop, we've got kind of a few shelves really incorporated into it, and therefore books or whatever you want to do. It's kind of easy reach work stuff really. I keep some hard drives there. I've got knife sharpening things in the old military bullet cases, and you know, it's there for anything really. And then with the lounge, again, limited for space. The wood stove could really only go in one place really. There's so many windows in this cabin. So we moved the doors, the original doors, which were just behind the wood stove behind me, and we put them walking into the kitchen because we wanted the lounge to just be a cozy space that was enclosed rather than walking in and out of it. We thought, you know, the kitchen is a place for doing things like cooking, and, you know, it's a bit more activity oriented. So we thought, let's put the doors there, and then that doesn't disturb that kind of that cozy part of the lounge then. So the log burner's kind of in situ, got a nice big window looking out at the garden and fields across the way, and then a couch, and the couch was just a free couch. I think it was on Facebook Marketplace, just a free, someone needed to get rid of a couch, had a few stains on it, absolutely fine. Just bought a cheap throw just to cover over the whole thing, and the couch has been fantastic. We did toy about getting two kind of chairs, or, you know, but couch worked. Again, limited space, but we do have these stools on the other side, which I'll show you here, and these are great just for, you know, this kind of breakfast bar worktop area. Don't have a TV. If we were going to watch TV, it would just be on a laptop. I love the idea of getting a projector with a projector screen, but realistically it's quite difficult with space, wall space, because of the windows and things like that. So a couple of bookshelves above the couch, which kind of frames that corner in quite nicely. And that's pretty much the lounge kitchen area. It works well. It's kind of spend most of the time there in that area. So I'll take you now through to the hallway, which is quite quick. The hallway is just used for coats and jackets and things like that. Obviously, we've got our electric junction box in there, and also, not now annoyingly, I wanted to show you, but usually have an axe wall on the hallway, just somewhere to hang the axes and draw knives and things like that. I get quite a few weird remarks on social media about that, thinking it looks a bit psychotic, but I love axes. I like tools like that, especially old kind of wooden tools. I think they're really nice, they're practical to use, really nice to look at, and I like knowing that they're there, easy to hand, to just get to go and chop some wood or do whatever you need to do with them, rather than kind of having a shed to rummage around in and find them. I just think they look nice, they're practical, and they're easy to get when they're on the wall. So that's essentially the hallway. The bathroom and shower are a really interesting one, because this is one of the things for kind of being more off-grid or living more remotely, is how you manage waste and things like that. I'm going to do a very specific video on how we manage our waste, and I think it's the easiest way to do it after doing lots of research on that. So stay tuned, because that will come in the next week or two. With the shower and bathroom, again, we're working with a Caravan, so you're limited for space. We knew that was going to be the case. I personally like a really big walk-in shower. I don't have baths, I always shower. So it was going to be a shower, a toilet and a sink, and very limited space to play with all of those. So we haven't done too badly. The toilet we use is a composting toilet with a separator for liquid waste, which goes into a soakaway. I'll explain that in another video, but that works really well. And then I basically built a partition wall and put the shower in. One of my biggest regrets of doing this whole project was not putting a gas shower in. It was an electric shower. Stupid mistake. It's not a mistake in terms of the shower works perfectly fine. It's great. In fact, it's a really good shower. I was just very set on getting a gas shower because it was more off-grid, and I do regret that. It was a kind of heat of the moment thing. I got an electrician to come in to do the electrics because I wasn't sure about the electrics, and he said it's going to be much easier and quicker and simpler to get an electric shower. And it was one of those points where it was just kind of everything was happening at once, and I said, yeah, just do it. And I regret it still. But the shower works perfectly fine. Did make lots of mistakes, and I'm going to do a video on all of the mistakes that I made doing this build, because I think it will help people if you're thinking about doing a similar thing. So certainly with the shower room area, made some very serious mistakes that aren't an issue just yet, but will be down the line. And then we've got a sink in there as well, and that's just a cold water feed. There's no hot water in that. in that sink. And I think it's worth bearing in mind, actually, I forgot to mention with the kitchen, that underneath the sink area we do have a water heater that holds 6 litres, and that is fairly efficient. So you've got 6 litres of water that is heated to a certain temperature which you control, and as soon as you drain that out it will fill up again with cold water, and then heat that up to temperature, and it will just stay there. So you've always got access to instant hot water, and you can switch the whole thing off, control the temperature. It's actually a really good thing. We decided, because of costs, not to put one of those in the bathroom. I think the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink are, within a couple of meters of each other. They're really close. And we were talking about, we could run a pipe with that hot water going to there, but really didn't need that. We realised that we don't need that hot water tap in the bathroom. We've got the shower there, so it's just 2 taps linked to cold water. And that's it, and that works perfectly well. The bedroom was a big thing for us. We knew we weren't going to spend a huge amount of time in the bedroom, just sleeping, obviously. But we didn't want a small bed, didn't necessarily want a small bedroom. So this caravan was a 2-bedroom caravan. So the layout is pretty much the same. You walk down the corridor and there would have, into the bedroom, but there would have been, as you walk down the corridor, a door on the left-hand side where the axe wall would be, and that would have led into where the bed is now. We ended up knocking all of the walls down completely inside and rebuilding it, but rebuilding it with pretty much the same footprint, except we just didn't put a wall in between the bed and the bedroom. So I've just built a double bed into that and used a double mattress, and that works really well. So that bed is just sort of fixed into that wall, and it's quite nice and cozy. And we decided to carpet that bedroom just to give it a little bit more warmth. We've got no heating. Our only heating in this cabin is from the log burner, and we've got a fan on the log burner which does really well in spreading the heat, but it's sometimes quite tricky to get it through to that room. Have just put in, you can see a white panel on the wall. That's an infrared panel heater. I have just put that in, haven't used it, so I can't really comment on it. You can program that heater to come on and come off whenever you want, so it can be quite handy. The only time I've noticed in the winter where the bedroom is not ideal and quite cold is in the morning, because obviously we've got the fire going on sometimes most of the day, sometimes just in the evening. But come morning, that fire's gone out hours ago, and the whole cabin's cooled down, so the mornings can be quite cold. So you can program that on the kind of coldest mornings to come on at half an hour before you get up, just to take that edge off. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it's a necessity, because we've been doing fine with it for up until now, but it's a bit of a luxury. But the carpet does make things a bit cozier and warmer in the bedroom. The rest of the cabin has just got either OSB or the 6x1, same as the walls. We did put in, thought it would be a good idea to put in a kind of window seat, because it's quite nice, because it looks out at some of the willow trees out there. This is when we were renovating the caravan, and thought it would be nice to have a window seat. You could sit there and read. Never used it for that, not once. But it's fine. It's a nice platform to organise stuff. Underneath we've got some shelving which is just open, and I like that. You can just have boxes of stuff that you can pull out with clothes and t-shirts or whatever it might be. And then we've got a wardrobe, again, just an open wardrobe, no fuss, very easy, simple. Right now there's just storage boxes in there, but there's a curtain rail that runs along the whole thing, or like a clothes rail for hanging up clothes, and that works really well. And then above that you've got a bit of storage for whatever you want to store above the wardrobe. So the bedroom is actually quite spacious, really. It works really well. To have a bedroom that size with a full double bed in a caravan is a real luxury, really, in terms of space. Last thing I wanted to talk about was storage, and storage was a big issue in my head when we were kind of thinking about renovating the cabin and what sort of space we had. So the way we've kind of worked out storage was to maximize it as much as possible. When we pulled down these ceilings above me, these were just flat with hardboard on, and pulled those off, and to our surprise it was just these lovely rafters. And for me, I'm 6'5", so I kind of struggle in small spaces. I don't like being hunched over. Even if I can stand up straight, it feels quite imposing when there's when there's a roof just there. So that was fantastic to be able to have those rafters and a bit of breathing space. I wouldn't say it's a cathedral ceiling, but it's a bit of breathing space above my head, which really helps. It's also fantastic for hanging laundry. I also just hung my tents up in here just to dry out, so it's great with the burner for that sort of thing, very practical. And then we realised that that runs the whole length of the caravan, so we thought, okay, we may have a storage issue when we move in. Why don't we keep the lounge and kitchen kind of vaulted so we can have a bit of breathing space above our heads, but then board up the rest of the cabin and perhaps have essentially a loft style kind of storage area in the bedroom, which is exactly what we did. A little bit embarrassed to show you that because it's quite disorganized, but we've got one above the main bedroom with just a hatch that I put in, and then also above a sort of separate one above the bench seat by the window, and they're fantastic for storage. I mean, anything that you don't need, you know, it's kind of Christmas decorations, for instance, things like that that you might use once every year or once every 6 months that you don't need access to once a week or whatever it is. That all goes up there, so that's great. But in terms of storage, you've almost got too much because we've got those lofts in the bedroom, and then the cupboard space we've got in the kitchen below the work surfaces is plentiful. I mean, they're really deep, big cupboard spaces. We've then got the pantry area for just other food items. Got these big long shelves in the kitchen for other pots and pans and plates and things like that. Got under the sink, which is kind of all the cleaning stuff and things, you know, those sort of things. Plenty of space for jackets and coats in the hallway. And then in the lounge, we've also got another little vaulted kind of area that I just keep all the camping stuff up there, like tents, sleeping bags, things like that. Generally keep those up there. It gets quite warm, dries everything out, keeps it kind of nice and dry. And then on this side, where I'm sitting at the lounge side of the workshop, we've got a really, really deep cupboard, which is great for storing odds, bits and pieces. So actually, we've almost got, I mean, I don't want to say too much storage, but definitely don't have an issue with storage, which is a relief. I thought storage was going to be one of the main problems for living in a cabin with all, you know, when this is your house and you've got to store everything in it. So overall with the cabin, there's obviously work that needs to be done, but I'm really happy with the way it's worked out. There's definitely regrets with certain things, but if they didn't happen, I wouldn't have learnt from them, and definitely know. I think the beauty of being able to build the cabin, especially with no experience and learning as you go, is that if anything goes wrong with the cabin now, I know how to fix it. Bar the electrics, I didn't want to get involved with the electrics because they scare me, and I think a little bit of knowledge with electrics is probably more dangerous than no knowledge. So I left that to a professional. But it's nice to know that this whole cabin has been completely gutted and built kind of not from scratch. We used a framework, but mostly, you know, down to the bare metal, quite literally. So I know that for the first time in my life where I'm living, I can pretty much fix most things, which is a really nice, empowering place to be. It's not perfect by any means, but realise that actually we don't need that much space, and the space we've got is plentiful. So really hope you've enjoyed this video on the cabin tour. Do have lots more videos coming out. Got a full video on the cabin build, which you can check out, and lots more videos coming out in terms of planning permission, waste, how we deal with waste and things like that. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you back here again soon.